My name is Tammy, and I have a husband named Clint. We've been married for 15 years, and together we have 3 children. We have one who just turned 30, and we have one that's about to turn 27 and one that's 21 and about to get married. We are learning to live with a 4-year-old full-time, which is challenging but fabulous, so we're really enjoying having her with us. So my father was in the Air Force, so we moved around a lot. He was very strict, and then he went into the military, and that was just kind of solidified. So he ran our house like a military base. There was some not so good things, though, as far as emotional abuse that went on. There was a lot of I was called, my dad once said to me, "You're the black sheep of the family. You don't follow the rules, you ask why, you have too many questions, you don't do as you're told, you don't need to talk so much." And so, there was comments on my physical appearance and, just things that were very hurtful. And I know now that my father just did not have the tools to be a warm and empathetic father. He's very different now. He's very, very much different than he was then. But by the time I got a little older, I used to start to get sick to my stomach when I'd hear my dad's car drive up, because I would start to play back. Okay, what have I done wrong today? What did I say wrong? What did I clean? What's gonna cause him to get angry with me? It was just kind of stressful. I was always on edge, When I was 13, my mother wanted me to come to dinner with some friends of hers. My dad was supposed to meet us later, and I didn't want to hang out with my dad. And so finally she said, "Fine, you're going to stay home, but you're going to stay inside the house, no outside playing." So my dad came home, and I thought, because, when you're a kid, a young teenager, I thought, my mom told him that I didn't want to go because I didn't want to hang out with them. So he's come home to torment me. That's kind of what I was thinking. And so he came home, and I asked him, I said, "Can I go outside and roller skate?" And he said, "Okay." So I went outside and roller skated, and then a little while later, he yelled out the door. He said, "Get in here." And I came in, took my skates off, and he said, "So you're trying to avoid me, are you? Is that why? Did your mom tell you were supposed to stay in the house?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, then why did you ask me?" I said, "Well, I thought you and Mom had talked." And he went to, I think he meant to kind of throw me over a chair to, smack my backside. Yeah, so the arm of my glasses broke, I think, when I hit the arm of the chair, and it gashed my head, right close to my eye. And I lost a lot of blood. My dad called my mom on the phone and said, "Come and get her." She came home and took me to the emergency room, and the doctor put a few stitches in there. And the thing that really stands out in my mind there, the doctor asked what had happened, and I told him. And so his parting remarks to me as I left the emergency room were, "You go home and do your part, and I'm sure your dad will do his." And I remember, I was 13 years old, and I remember looking at this adult, and I thought, I think my dad already did his part. What am I supposed to do now? And so I went home, and we threw my clothes away because they were saturated with blood, and we never spoke about it. We never talked about it again. No one addressed it with me. No one ever asked me, "Are you okay?" We just didn't talk about it. And that didn't feel very good. And I didn't know if it would happen again. And so I had already been on edge, with my dad, especially with his temper. So that was really my first experience with physical violence. My father got stationed on Guam when I was 13, so I wrapped up 8th grade, and we moved overseas to this little island on the equator, and it was a beautiful place. On the 4th of July, when I was 15 years old, we had a barbecue, kind of a picnic at our house, and my dad had his best friend over, and they were outside kind of detailing their cars and just doing guy stuff. And a man came over to them and started kind of struck up a conversation with them, and was talking about his sister. She's single, and my dad's friend was single, and he said, well, how about I go get her and you can meet? And my dad invited him to the barbecue and with his sister, and so he came out, he asked my dad, do you know anyone named Tammy? I'm looking for my friend Tammy. And my dad said, oh, that's my daughter. And so my dad went and got me, and he had called a couple of times, and I'd been taught to be polite, so I didn't hang up the phone on him, but I just thought, I don't know who this person is. I don't know why he's calling me, but I'll be polite. And so he said, I'm BJ, and I'm been talking to you. And I said, oh, and I thought, this is weird because he's a grown-up. He was 27. Through the conversation, my dad had given him permission to go with him to go pick up his sister. But we didn't go to pick up his sister. He had a ranch house, but it's sort of a shack, but people build them in the jungle where they own property, and they'll do barbecues and things there. And so that's where he took me and sexually assaulted me there. And what he told me was, if you tell anyone, I will tell your dad that this is your fault, that you wanted it. And I knew in my heart at 15, because I believed that my father did not like me already, that he'd believe him because this was an adult. And I just knew my father would hate me more. So we went back to the barbecue, and people were there by that time. And I went upstairs and took a scalding hot shower. And got dressed and came back down and pretended like nothing had happened. And so 2 weeks went by, and I didn't say anything to anybody. And I finally told a boy that was a friend of mine from school what happened. And he said to me, Tammy, if you don't tell your parents, I'm going to tell them. You got to tell them what happened to you. So I went home about 1 o'clock in the morning from babysitting a couple doors down. And my dad was working, and I went in my mom's room and I woke her up and told her what had happened. And so she had me go back to bed, and the next morning we went down to the police station. And for about 6 hours, 2 male police officers questioned me with my mother in front of me. It was very humiliating. It was very shameful. It was very confusing. But they told me, if you tell, then it will help other girls. We'll catch him and we'll stop him. And I thought, that's important. I don't want anyone else to suffer. I don't want some other girls to have this happen to them. And so, I told them all of the things they asked me. And I never got to go to court. They told my mother the wrong day. That's what I was told. So I never testified. I never told anyone formally, I didn't get an opportunity to confront him, to say, you did this bad thing to me. This is wrong. I actually met my ex-husband when I was on Guam. We were both in high school there. His father was also in the Air Force. But my ex-husband and I got married when he came home on break from boot camp. It was between boot camp and A school. So we went down to the courthouse and we eloped. And I was 19, just before I turned 20. And so we got married, and after he finished school, he got stationed in Aurora. So then I came out, and we were married for 10 years. We had 2 little girls together, and he would be gone a lot. He carried a pager back when those were the thing. And he'd get paged a lot, and he'd be gone. But I always really believed that, it was work. But later on, as time went by, I found out that he had a girlfriend and had a girlfriend for quite some time. He started being verbally abusive, and that fairly quickly led to being physically abusive. And one night, we were starting to argue, and I decided, well, I'm going to go in the bedroom and let this calm down. So I ran in the bedroom and I locked the door behind me and just got into bed, and I thought, this will blow over, it'll be okay. But he was so angry that he started to beat the door down, and I remember screaming, and my girls were sleeping. They were really little, and he broke the door down, and it was an old house, about 100-year-old house, really, so it was wood. He shattered the door frame and the door knocked down, and he jumped on top of me in the bed and put a pillow over my face, and he held it. And I remember thinking, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. He's gonna let me go soon. And then I remember seeing that kind of white veil that happens before you pass out. And I remember thinking, who's gonna raise my girls? And I thought that was it. And I thought, my girls aren't gonna know me. They're not gonna know me and how much I love them. And just about that time, he let it go. So as far as the abuse triangle, I have experienced the full range. Child abuse, sexual abuse, and domestic violence. I'd been going to college part-time when I was a single mom, and I decided to go into criminal justice. And I assumed that I would work with victims because that's a no-brainer. My master's program was incredible. I learned so much about our system, and there was a lot of validation for me when I did victim study courses, because I knew exactly how those women felt. I knew exactly why women don't report their abuse. I know, because it's painful. People don't believe you. People don't hear you. People don't know what to do with you. And I've found, unfortunately, even as much as I've loved the church my whole life, the church doesn't always know what to do with us. And when you're a victim and you tell someone your story, you know when they don't get it. You know when their eyes glaze over that they're tuning you out, really, that their heart doesn't experience any pain for you. And after a while, you stop telling your story. People don't want to hear it. People don't believe it. So you just stop talking about it. And that's really sad. It's one of the few things that's not okay to talk about, abuse. I really wish, when I look back, that there was more, that I had someone to talk to, especially when it first happened. I would love to have had someone pray with me. I would love to have had someone to hear me out, to listen to what I had to say, all the ugly stuff, and say, God loves you, and I'm going to be here with you. It's hard, and I see that it's hard, and I don't have all the answers, but I'm still going to be here with you, and I'll just sit with you if that's all you need. My hope and my dream for this ministry is for other victims to be able to come to the church and to feel this is home, this is a safe place, that we see you, we believe you, and we love you, and God loves you. And the Bible talks about we live in a fallen world. God has given us each a choice, what to do with our lives, how to behave, how to treat other people. We have a choice. And some people choose wrongly. They choose a path that's terrible, that breaks other people. But God never left me. God has never left me.